Still wondering how you can get a job at Google? Here is part two of our interview with Eric. And in this interview, he's going to talk about what college is like, nailing the Google interview, and finally getting that job. So here we go.
Starting around the second term of my senior year is when I really starting applying. I felt like my resume or my portfolio looked pretty good in terms of things I could demonstrate. Um, that is when I started applying and stopped going to the classes because I was still enrolled as a mixed school student. I was just grinding on applying, and then once I actually got the on-sites, I disappeared for like 2 weeks to study. That was the strategy, was just build a data structure, study them, and then do some like mock interviews. Um, so so I was in the let's get a job mode.
After coming out of make school, was there like a lot of interest, or did you have a hard time getting your foot in the door? And what happened with all of that?
It was pretty tough at first, just seeing that, like, send the applications, don't hear anything back. Um, so just reaching out to, I can't recall who it was, like a staff member at Make School would just help with trying to, put your footing down a little better, not use the front door, use the back door kind of thing and applying. So after I started using that, I started getting more replies, more interviews. Most of them were just, I only made it as far as like the remote, the initial like screening after the recruiter was like with an engineer first, and then after just more interviews after that and practicing, um, I finally got to the on-sites and I got three on-sites um, on 2 weeks. So the first week had two on-sites, and the week after that was the third on-site, and that was Google. I just looked at the on-site as like, here's my opportunity to meet some potential teammates. I didn't really look at it as like they're interrogating me. I'm equally as, maybe not equally as, interrogating them, because it's an interview backward, that goes both ways. So I think that really helped kind of like break the ice a little bit at each of these companies. Was just to look at these on sites as like, okay, are we, a mutual fit for each other? Because I was actually meeting some of the potential teammates if I were to be given a job offer.
You met the teammates at Google, and I guess there was like a spark there, right?
Yeah, actually, one of the interviewers on my on-site at Google, is the team that I actually ended up joining. Um, so real quick, on the on-site, I had four technical questions and one behavioral question. Two of the technical were just algorithms and data structures, and the other two were domain specific, so iOS development. It wasn't hard. It wasn't easy either, but it wasn't hard. Um, but yeah, one of the interviewers they're my mentor now at the team. They interviewed me, and it was really interesting stuff because one, it's an interview that is an iOS question at Google, and it like gave me a bit of like how Google does iOS development. Yeah, and it really sparked there.
You impressed them at Google, and then now you're a member at Google after, coming from the whole history of just making a simple iPod game. And how did that feel? That must have felt really like great, right?
Yeah, I think what really helped me, um, like stand out as a candidate was just like, it's not just like getting the feature, building it, and be done with it. It's like, it was one, building a feature for an app that I was passionate about. Like, I love to do lists and productivity, so a lot of my apps had to do with productivity. So, um, like I mean, I think I did. I gave the impression that like, oh, it's not just about getting the feature done and getting the work done. It's like I got really connected to the product, so I was able to like, um, come up with different ideas or like where things could get a little better. Um, because I mean something that I mention all the time, just like don't be afraid to like put passion in your projects, like at make school or when you're building stuff, right? Because there is a very good chance that a company is in that domain and they would see that as a very valuable trait to have. Just like, oh, you really like building apps for, I don't know, video game enthusiasts or um, sports. I can't really think of much anything else. Um, so I think that's what probably really helped the most. Sure, maybe Google Voice isn't the domain that I work with, but it is a product that I actually care a lot about. Um, so yeah, I think that's what mostly helped. It's just like it started with the games and then it went on to building it on the iPod Touch, and it just kept going because I had the passion to just keep learning.
I really want to highlight what you said about passion. You said, maybe one of the things that stood out most to Google was that passion. And it was that same passion that, your first client kind of picked up on and the reason why you got your first client. So that really drove like the whole process.
Adding your passion to your projects and like the things that you build, like one, it's going to help you debug your code. I mean, if you're working on something you don't like to do, well, I mean, you're probably going to give up sooner. But aside from that, potential teammates, employers, they're going to see that, you'll actually push through it and you're going to enjoy doing it. I mean, there's a person that will do it because they're getting paid, but there's a person that will do it because that's what they love to do. Not enough of people realize that.
Share a little bit about like what your experiences were like at Make School compared to a traditional college.
The biggest difference between traditional college and make school is that the stuff we learned was practical and it was applicable to shipping the product. And like I'm sure they say time and time again, it's product. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but it's like product development, product-based learning or something like that. Like you're shipping the product. It's not just writing the most effective and efficient code line of code.
Awesome. Well, Eric, I really appreciate you sitting down and taking the time to be here. And it was really, actually, really great to hear your story. I think a lot of aspiring coders or coders just starting out are may have that passion, and it's important that we highlight to them to make sure that they keep that passion going because that's really what's going to take them all the way through.
Oh yeah, it's not an easy journey, as I'm sure a lot of people already picked up on, but the easier and the better you can make it for yourself, the quicker you will get to, well, getting paid to do it. And passion is definitely going to be passion and interests is definitely going to be a factor into that and helping in that.
Whoa, there were tons of great pieces in that story from what school was like, the interview process, and just, Google and how it's really about being a part of the team. So if you like this video, please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below.